You're listening to Operation Self Reset, all about technology with Dave Rebro. What's going on, you freaking awesome people? Welcome back to Operation Self Reset. My name is Jake Naraki. Welcome to the only podcast that can assist you in starting over. That's right. Operation Self Reset was derived and born out of the idea of every single moment we have the opportunity to start over. Now, if you've been paying attention or following along in this podcast series, you understand that we're kind of in a little mini breakdown of what a self-reset is, how to reset ourselves, how to get more confidence, how to start and end our day, where in what is a reset, all those great things. And today, we have a guest that's going to be assisting us in part number 5 here, using technology as an asset to your reset. Now, the reason why I say technology in this podcast and why we need it, I feel that there's a void in the personal development space in enhancing people with the right tools and resources to move forward. Fortunately, I know somebody that is kind of a self-proclaimed technology therapist, and he's proclaimed because people have called him this many a time. He uses technology and teaches technology to people that are kind of used to the old school approach of living life, from scheduling to keeping organized, to organizing thoughts and things that need to happen in a daily sense. As we know, all of us have phones. All of us are using different calendar apps. We're juggling email and social media and games, whatever we have on our phone. But it would be awesome if we could use that tool, aka the cell phone, as a leveraging device to assist us in becoming better. And I think that all of us need that in our lives, because technology, as we know, is getting integrated into our pockets, into our cars, into our homes. Now they even have refrigerators that can scan your fridge on the interior to see what food you have, and it will send recipe ideas or tell you what you're out of inside of the refrigerator or what you need to pick up. And as we can see, technology is only advancing because those companies want our money and they want us to do less. But as we know, to obviously become our best, we need to do more. We need to strive for more, become more, do more, see more, be more, all those different types of things. And I really believe Dave can at least get us back on track and start using technology as an asset instead of a liability that drains us. It can enhance us and keep us moving in the right direction. So I don't want to take up more of the beginning episode here, but I just wanted to give you a quick synopsis of what's been going on with the show here. Again, we're in a mini-series here of a self-reset, and this continues that with Dave Rebro. Enjoy the interview, and we'll talk to you guys on the backside. Hey guys, welcome back to Operation Self Reset. Today we have an awesome guest that is going to help you enhance your technology relationship. We have on a technology therapist. His name is Dave Rebro. Him and I have crossed paths many times. We're in a book together that was called The Brilliant Breakthroughs, Fresh Perspectives on Profitability, People, Productivity, and Finding Peace in Your Business. So Dave, my man, thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jake.
You know, this conversation was needed. Ever since understanding what you're about, where you're from, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to benefit from this conversation, because it's something a little different, only because you're going to obviously share ideas and tools for us to kind of use technology as an asset in our everyday life as opposed to a distraction. So give people a little bit of a rundown of who you are, what you're about, and how did you fall into the world of technology therapist?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Well, first of all, I want to set the stage. I started off, Jake, as really a propeller head or a technology geek. Out of college, I fell in love with computers, and I fell in love with how to use computers to really simplify things that we do. And really what I became is a system engineer. So if anybody doesn't know what a system engineer is, I'm the guy that went out and designed networks, designed computers as far as what would go on them. I would set them up, configure them, make them all work, make them all talk. And I did all that technical stuff. But as I was doing that, I fell in love with actually showing people how to use that as a tool, as a productive tool to help them what they're doing in their business, to help them understand how to use it. And as life went on and years went by, I really had this feeling in me that I needed to make a change in my business. And probably about a good 7 years ago, I made a huge shift in the services I offered. And where instead of being that propeller geeky guy that went out and did all the technical stuff, I wanted to teach, I wanted to coach, I wanted to help people leverage technology to better their lives, better their work, to be more efficient, maybe be more productive. And I truly love doing that. So really, I'm a teacher at heart. So I teach and I coach technology. So that's kind of the background of where I'm coming from. And I absorb it like a sponge, and I love to share it, and I love to share tools and help people be creative with that technology and help people really get the most out of it. And as we talk, you'll notice that I come from a different perspective, Jake. It's not all about the tools that we use, but it's also about the mindset that you have with using those tools, which is kind of a weird blend of going more of a holistic approach to technology than what I did before, which was the step by step and put it together in the logical part of technology.
Sure. When you're talking about the mindset approach here, obviously that's the kind of the basis of this show in general. I guess, what are people having issues on? What is it that you open them up to? If you can kind of bring us into that world.
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, when I work with my clients and I work with people, a lot of people go along in their day-to-day activities with the perspective is, I got to be busy and I got to get things done because in their mind, they think they're productive when they get things done. However, the problem, Jake, is they're not really truly aligned with the purpose or the end result to get things done. Now, that comes back to we have to step back before we get into using any tool or take any strategy and put it into action of getting clarity of what is most important to get done. And what's most important, I mean, the things that we have to do that's truly aligned with the end goal or results we want to get. So we have to explore that and get super clear in our mind of what we need to achieve before we can actually take the steps to do it.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Are you gonna kind of go down that path a little bit, or should I ask you, what are people looking to achieve? You know what I mean? Like, are they just like, I'm fed up with technology, I'm lost with it, I hate it? What's the battle relationship? What's going on?
Yeah, that's a great. It's really divided into two parts. There are people that are super frustrated or super overwhelmed or even fear technology because they think that they're not up to speed with it, or they're going to break it, or they're not going to do something right, or they're going to look silly to their peers because they don't truly understand it. And then there's the other camp, so to speak, the second part of people who get technology and really good at it, but they don't know how really to apply it in a manner that's most productive to get the results that they want to get done. So that being said, yes, going back to camp number one, those folks, it's really getting them to the mindset that, you know what, technology is not something to be afraid of. Even though there's the dark side of technology, we're all aware of that. But yet there's way more positive sides of technology that can help you out than can be a detriment. So it's for them, when we work with them or I work with them, it's really how am I going to associate what I do with the best tools possible where I'm comfortable using those tools. Now, comfort is so much more, productive than being afraid or frustrated. So we got to get past that frustration. You have to get past that fear factor of using technology and realize that, you know what? This is a tool, and society's really using technology. And if I don't jump in the game and keep pace with society, I'm going to quickly fall back. And that's another fear. I'm falling back so fast. How do I catch up? I'll never be able to do that. And people have to realize that you don't have to take these huge, big bites out of technology and learning technology. You can start simple and start applying simple things to get comfortable with, so you build that confidence that you're able to apply technology in the most effective and productive way.
Yeah, for sure. How do we start to build that? What are the couple of steps you take people through to get the ball rolling?
Yeah, so basically we have to sit back and define, first of all, where are my frustrations? Where am I lacking? Where am I struggling with really the way I'm working, or the way I'm, a lack of a better term, living my life? Where are my hangups? Now, once we figure out where the frustration level is, or where the fear factor is, then we can start to look at, all right, what do we want to achieve? Now, this is going to be, I'm going to walk you through something. I'll come back to your question. So let's do this. Let's pretend that I sit down with you, Jake, and you're frustrated, or you're fearful, and you're not really sure where to go with technology. But that's really a byproduct of maybe some deeper inner things. So we need to open up the can of where that frustration or fear is coming from. And once we do that, then we can take a look at where we really want to be. What do we want to achieve, maybe with a project, with a goal, or with something in our life that is meaningful or has purpose to us. And once we figure that out, we can put that as the end goal. So I call it, really, we start off with the island of frustration or fear, and then we want to get over to the island of productivity, success, results. And what I like to do is I want them to feel what it would feel like if we were over on the island of, we'll call it productivity bliss. Let's do that.
Nice.
And to get to that island, from the island of frustration, we need to build a bridge. Okay, so I want them to think about it, put an image in their mind first. And I want them to have an emotional response to what it would be like if I was on that island. And I could be, I could be really efficient. I could be productive. I could get the results that I want, so I could serve better. I could be happier. I could be more joyful. So that bridge is where we now start to look at technology tools. We can use technology tools to help us build that bridge, to go from that frustration, that fear island, over to that island of productivity bliss. So the first thing we do is, all right, we analyzed your frustrations and your fears. Let's take a look at least one tool that can address one of those fears. So maybe, Jake, you say to me, you know what, Dave, I've got so much going on in my life. I'm so overwhelmed. I've got 2 different jobs I'm working on. I've got a family. I've got hobbies. I've got goals, and it's just overwhelming. I can't manage that. I get frustrated. I get worked up. Well, the one thing I say, and the one tool that I talk about is, it's the most simplistic tool, is the calendar. Let's start with leveraging your calendar. And I know that sounds very funny or very basic or minimal, but truly, if you don't know how to organize your time within your day to be the most efficient as possible, there's no way you're going to be able to build that bridge and cross it to get to where you want to go. And that's that emotional part. We need to manage, how can we alleviate or minimize that overwhelm or that frustration that you're feeling. And that calendar is a tool that is so important. Now, Jake, I know that you have a busy life, and I know you use a calendar. My question to you, I'm going to throw a question right back to you, is how often do you truly utilize your calendar as a tool to manage your life?
Honestly, probably I'm using it like a traditional person. I put big kind of ticket items in there, work, soccer practice, the big things that would eat up a day. I check it. I don't wake up and check it. You know what I mean? I check it very minimal, maybe once every other day, or if somebody's like, hey, what are you doing this day? More future items and stuff like that. But otherwise, my wife and I mean, we use it, but not in a way we could probably leverage it to assist, to keep us a little more organized.
Yeah, and that's typically what people do with their calendar. Some people still have the paper-based planner calendar.
Sure.
And I would say the majority of us now probably have converted over to some type of a digital calendar.
Right.
Well, the beauty about using a digital calendar, and this is kind of how we could ease you into feeling more comfortable with technology, is getting a knowledge of how to truly use the tool to your advantage. All right. Now, once you understand how you can use a tool to your advantage, then it makes it a lot easier to be comfortable with that tool. So let's look at a digital calendar. We'll quickly say now, what I do is I actually break my calendar into 4 categories. Now, categories meaning I want to categorize my life, so to speak. What's truly important in my life, things that I have to manage. Now, you had talked about, big things that are going on in your life. You said, if there's a soccer game or whatever, you want to have that on there so you're organized and you know where to be. Well, I break it down into 4 critical categories for me. One is work. Another one is really my personal home life. My family life is a category as well. And then I have a 4th category, Jake, which is called my balance category. Now, pretty much people can figure out that, yeah, all right, within a calendar, I know that I can have different calendars. And if you didn't, most calendars, the iOS calendar, Google calendars, allow you to create different categories. And the cool thing about these categories, Jake, is you can put colors to them.
Right.
And that's what I do. So I've got these 4 categories that have calendars or colors that represent them. And these categories help me manage my life. Now, we talked about those first 3. We talked about work, home, family, but this balance category is really critical for me because I got into a part in my business in my life where I was extremely overwhelmed. Now, this is when I made my shift between being a computer geek guy to being more of a coach, being a mentor, being a teacher. And when I made that shift, there was so much going on in my life, and there was a part of my life that was being ignored. And that part of my life was really the most important part of my life is my relationship with my wife and my family, relationship with myself, remembering the important things in my life, my goals, things that I want to achieve, things that make me happy. So I created in my calendar a category for balance. Balance allows me to take care of the things that are most important to me. It could be anything from my well-being, which would be I want to work out or exercise, or Jake, you and I had talked about getting sleep. I actually put on my calendar, honestly, I put 8-hour blocks on my calendar every night for sleep. Now, it sounds ridiculous, and people are like, well, why would you do that? Well, for me, I wasn't getting the sleep that allowed me to perform at my highest, levels. And I knew that was very important to me, and I wanted to make it a habit that I got 7 to 8 hours of sleep each night. So I put this on my calendar in my balance category. So just to give you an idea how I use my calendar, I am organizing different parts of my life, the most important things that I have to take action on, and put it on my calendar. That calendar, then I can use tools of the calendar like the reminders or the alerts of a calendar to remind me about things I have to do. Now, each category is important in my life, and I can organize those categories with attention and with organization of my time. So again, coming back to your question, I know I made a long way around this, but you have to understand how to use the tool and then have some creativity of how it would apply in your life. So once you have those 2 factors, it makes it so much more comfortable and so much easier to use a tool like a technology tool. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think, obviously scheduling, the one thing everybody says is, I'm so busy, and if you looked at their calendar, there's probably nothing in there. So what are they really doing during the day? They're just kind of going off the cuff, They're kind of figuring out. They really don't have a game plan. They look in their fridge and go, I guess today I'll go food shopping, or maybe I'll wait till tomorrow or whatever. And I think there's 2 ways to look at it. The more, as they say, the entrepreneur, the creative person is more kind of on the go. They see the problem, they fix the problem. Or you have the people that are very aware of their time management, and they dial in everything in their life. And that is why some of those people are able to accomplish more than maybe
Yes.
more of the free-spirited kind of fix the problem as they see it. And and that's something I think we can all get better at, And so if it does need to be a case of you scheduling sleep or the obvious things into your planner just for you to get into the habit, I would
Yes.
say probably that's a huge benefit, right? And building that habit kind of muscle.
Absolutely. What we want to do to really be productive or get results we want, we need to have the habits that support us. Now, habits meaning productive habits. We all have habits, and we know a lot of those are probably destructive habits, right?
Right.
Checking email, checking social media first thing in the morning and getting caught up in that trap where we're taking all our energy early, all that energy we have early on in the morning and put it towards that where we can take our energy and put it towards more important things in our life. So let's take a look at work. If I come to a specific day, I want to make sure that I have a plan in place that allows me to accomplish the top things I need to move forward on projects or a goal in work. Now, the calendar itself allows us to go ahead and schedule time to take advantage or to go ahead and take action on those events or those activities that will move us forward. So, yes. So what I do is I actually time block on my calendar, Jake. Are you familiar with time blocking?
Yes, totally.
Yeah, folks, if you're out there and you're not really sure what that is, it's really designating time blocks on your calendars for things that you need to do at specific times. Now, this might be a time block specific for a specific day or a time block that you do every day. So I have something in the morning that I call my daily focus. Now, I reserve time in the morning between the hours of 6 and 7 where I actually do my daily focus. Now, a daily focus for me is part of my balance time. And that allows me to go in and write down, for instance, gratitude statements. It allows me to look at something called a vision board that I put together electronically, where I take pictures of things I want to accomplish or how I want to be in my life or what kind of person I want to be. And I review that every morning to keep that fresh, keep it mindful, or keep me mindful of that, which is important for how I'm going to set the tone for the day. But more importantly, these time blocks throughout the day are reserved specifically for things that I need to do that are productive activities to get the results I want, either, like I said, either in a project or in my life as a person. So yes, time blocks are important, but having a plan in place for a day is so important, and that calendar itself is where I put my plan. So these are things I'm taking action on. So very important things in all different categories of your life. I told you about my work, my home, my family, and my balance. I make sure I schedule either on an ongoing basis or on a daily basis things that will move me forward. So it is so important. And for the folks that are very overwhelmed out there or have so much going on and think that, oh, geez, I'm doing so many things, how could I be more productive? Well, let's step back and think about being productive. Productive is not just about doing work, busy work, right, Jake?
Oh, totally.
Yeah, we know that being productive means I'm getting results that are taking me forward, all right? Results for accomplishing a goal or finishing a project. So really, productivity is result oriented. So we need to make sure that the activities that we put on our calendar in any of those categories we talked about truly are result oriented activities. And being able to time block those activities is so critical and will make you so much more productive result wise than it is we're just trying to be overwhelmed and just getting stuff done.
Yeah, totally. when you kind of go down this wormhole with people, and obviously you start to pull back the layers and you understand, where they are, where they want to be, you start to kind of filter through the areas of organization and start to kind of just dabble in those first couple of moments. Where does the usual turning point happen with somebody?
Yeah.
When is it that they go, is it after a couple weeks? What's the process?
Honestly, the moment starts early on in the process. Most people who come to me when I work with are really in a state where I need to take this next step and I'm struggling. Either I'm struggling with my workflows that I'm doing within my business or my organization or my nonprofit or my whatever activity I'm doing. They feel that frustration. They know they need to do something. Well, they don't have the clarity, Jake, of what they're trying to accomplish and how they have to accomplish. So when we step back and we start peeling those layers back again, I'm going to come back to that island of frustration where they really need to look at, let's define what you're doing right now or not doing right now that truly is prohibiting you to take those steps forward. So that's step one, to getting the clarity of, all right, I know now I'm struggling, I'm not doing this, or I've got bad habits doing this. We clarify that, and then we clarify in our mind the vision of where we want to go. So we'll call that the island of productivity bliss. Once they have that image in the mind, they can step back and say, okay, now I'm starting to understand what I'm doing now, and I understand what I have to do to get the results I have. So that's the first aha. The second aha is when we start to build the plan and put it into place. Now, the plan is that bridge that goes through, and the plan usually is a combination of steps we have to do, strategies to do them, and the tools that we need to use to help them do that. So defining the strategies of what we have to do and then align them with tools that support them. Once they start to get into that flow of start doing the work, it starts to trigger, I understand this now. I'm starting to get momentum. Momentum is so key. Momentum is, all right, I take a step and I see results. And once I get results, that breeds more momentum. So we start to get the ball rolling in the right direction. So we're building that bridge. We're rolling across the bridge to the island of bliss. And we're starting to remove ourselves from that frustration, overwhelm area. So that's kind of how that happens. Once we start to peel back the layers of understanding and getting clarity, and then figuring out the strategies, the tools to help them get to that point, that's where the momentum starts to get going with that.
Cool. Now, one thing that everybody is always obsessed about, what are the tools? We are a app-driven, want the newest, hottest thing to help us, and then we try it, we use it, we don't like it, it doesn't apply to us, or whatever the case is. But with you, obviously, you probably have narrowed down your toolbox of specific tools that can help individuals, and of course, we have a wide audience that is listening right now. What are a few tools that you absolutely love, that you use, and that your customers or the people that you serve really enjoy?
Yeah, that's a great question. A lot of people are like, there's thousands of apps and there's thousands of tools out there. Dave, what should I use? What's the best ones out there? And I don't say, when I speak with somebody, it's not about first the tool. It's about learning how they work, how they think, how they create, and where their comfort level is. And then we find the tool that fits the way they work. It's not about finding the all new shiny tool and start using it, because a lot of times you can buy these shiny new expensive tools, but if they don't apply to the way you think, you create, the way you work, if it's not aligned with that, you're not going to use it, and it's just a waste. Okay, so the three tools that I really recommend, and I'll start off with the first one we've already talked about, is really getting a calendar that works. It doesn't have to be, and in fact, I still have some people that use paper calendars, but they're slowly migrating over because they see the advantage of having a digital calendar. But having a calendar to get organized with your time. Now, we talked about time blocks, we talked about the different categories, those are strategies that we can use to take advantage of that tool. So I personally use I'm a big Apple guy. I'm Apple certified support professional. I use Apple's iOS calendar. But I also use Google Calendar, some other calendars, because that's what some of my customers use, and I don't want to force them into a tool that they're not comfortable with, or a tool that doesn't fit what they're currently doing. So a calendar is the first tool that I say, a digital calendar, I highly recommend to my clients. Now, next, for me, and I don't know about you, Jake, it's hard sometimes when you have so much going on to remember things, anything from, I've got to call a client, or I got to make an appointment with a dentist, or I have to remember my sister's birthday. All those things that swim around in your head that you constantly try to remember, that sometimes starts to fill your head. And then once you get too much of that going on, you get to that saturation point. Well, I like to recommend to somebody to find a tool, a digital tool, that helps you remind you to do things. Now, a calendar, yes, manages your time, and yes, you can set alerts on there, which is what we're kind of talking about. But being in the Apple world, I use the application built into Apple's products called the Reminders tool. But there's plenty of other wonderful tools out there, depending on if you're working with a team, or if you're working in not in the Apple environment, in another environment, that help you remind you to do things. So I set reminders all the time. I like to get things out of my mind when I think about it, and I use technology to go ahead and remind me to do things based on time and location. So when I say time and location, people normally say, yeah, I can set a reminder in my calendar, remind me to do something at a specific time. But Dave, what are you talking about, a location? Well, there are times that I need to remember to do things at a specific location. Now, the Reminders app in the Apple environment allows me to set a reminder based on a geographic location, which is really cool. So let's say I'm a real estate agent and I want to go out and work with a client, and I'm going to go to a house, and I need to bring along the lockbox code to get into the house that we're going to take a look at. All right, so we've got a buyer. Well, I can set a geographic reminder that when I get to work or my office, to grab the code for the lockbox to get into the house, because you don't want to drive out to a location and not be able to get in, right?
Right.
So you can set a location-based reminder to remind you to do things. And I use that all the time. One example in my personal life is on Sundays when I go to church. I don't want to be the guy in church that has the telephone or my phone ringing or alerting or making noises. I just don't want to be that guy. So I set a geographical reminder on my phone to remind me when I get within a mile of church to tell me to turn off my phone. Just turn it off so I don't run into that situation. So having a tool like the Reminders app on the Apple tool to help me remind things and get things out of my head so I can have more clarity or space for clarity in my head, that Reminders tool is so important. So that would be the second one.
Cool.
Now, the third one, Jake, and you know this is my favorite app, and I always talk about this app. I am personally in love. In fact, I love it so much, I became a certified consultant for this app, is an app called Evernote. Now, Evernote, for the folks that are out there, Evernote started off with a simple note-taking app, but really has matured into this incredible, I call it a Swiss Army knife of productivity apps, because it does so much as far as allowing me to consolidate information from all different formats in my life into one workspace. I'll give you an example. I can take emails, web pages, I can take audio recordings of webinars, or maybe a podcast that I'm doing, like this podcast. I can take pictures of whiteboards if I'm strategizing with a client. I can take documents that I'm working on, maybe in Microsoft Word or Apple Pages, or I've got a presentation, or maybe I have physical paper documents like flyers or handouts, or maybe even receipts or business cards, and take all that information and put it into one environment, work environment that's available to me through the Evernote app on any device I own. It could be my phone, my iPad that I have, my tablet, laptop. It could be my desktop computer. Or, Jake, if I was at your house and I needed to get to something, I could log on to your computer and get to my information through a web-based interface for Evernote and retrieve my information. Now, retrieval is what makes Evernote probably one of the most important or powerful tools that I use, because think about consolidating all that information from both my personal life and business in one work area, but it doesn't do me any good if I can't get to it quickly, right?
Right.
It kind of defeats the purpose. So Evernote allows me to retrieve basically anything that I want to remember or have access to in literally 10 seconds or less. So for me, that's a powerful, powerful tool. That allows me to have access to information that I need at any time to either help me work on something in a business or help me do an activity outside of business that will get me results. Okay? So Evernote is this incredible tool, really, that allows me to work, that allows me to think and create and remember and process the way that I process. It's very customizable. And so when I work with my clients, we look at, and most of them come back and say, Dave, I've got this stuff all over. I can't keep track of this. I need some flow. I'm just stuck here. Well, a tool like Evernote allows you to go ahead and simplify, consolidate, organize, and make it, all that information that you store retrievable so you can be productive.
Yeah, I think you and I talked maybe about a year and a half ago, and you told me about Evernote, and it's like, yeah, I tried it once, and, didn't really, use it, and you're like, okay, well, have you tried, tagging things or being a little more organized inside of the platform, because that's where the power is, and I'm like, I don't know, I never really looked into it, and then I realized that you could type in keywords, even like, quick language that you would use personally. And honestly, when you come into that ecosystem of Evernote, it's basically a mobile computer. I mean, it has it can hold almost every file that you want that can go in there, from blog posts to articles to receipts, everything. I truly see the power of it, and I know why you're obsessed with it, because it is something. It just, as long as like anything, you take the time to, kind of put a couple of tags to it, can really be beneficial, even for somebody that doesn't even have a business. It's just things that are going on or whatnot, to assist them. It's really, really powerful.
Yeah. I call Evernote, truly, it's my digital brain is what it is. It really is. And from all parts of my life, my business life, my personal life, I use Evernote as much in my personal life as I do in my business life. For instance, recipes. Yeah. My wife and I, we like to cook, and we have a lot of recipes, and we used to have, the index cards, or we would see something in a magazine and cut it out, or we'd buy books that had recipes in it. And when you want to find a recipe and you're in the mood to, cook something special, we were finding it difficult to go and find a specific recipe because we had so much stuff. We had a cabinet that was full of books and index cards and you name it, full of recipes. Well, we've converted all of that into Evernote. Now, converted means that if it's in a physical format, Evernote allows you to use your digital device's camera to take a picture of a document or of a page of a book or a page of a magazine, and it puts it into digital format. Now, you just talked about the searching capabilities a little bit of Evernote, and this is where it really becomes powerful. So in Evernote, for you folks that have never used it before, I'll break it down real simple. Evernote allows you to take things you want to remember and put it into something called a note. Now, a note is kind of like a document if you're in Word, Microsoft Word, and you store all different forms of information into a note. It could be audio, it could be a photo, it could be a movie, or it could be text. But that note stores information. So we take pictures with our camera of our recipes. It goes into a note. Now, the cool thing is once you have a note, Evernote gives you something called notebooks. Now, I want you to think of notebooks as something like a folder. Okay, so on your computer, you put documents into a folder. Well, Evernote's very similar like that, but they call it a notebook. So you can organize your notes into notebooks. So you can categorize your notes based on, let's say we're doing recipes and we want to find recipes for appetizers. So we could make a notebook that says appetizers and put all our recipes in there. Okay, that sounds pretty much what you could do on a computer, Dave. But what is this search capabilities you're talking about? Well, Evernote, the search capabilities are so cool. You can not only search into a note, which we talked about, it's kind of like a document, for text, but you can also search inside of a picture that has text. So, Jake, if I want to look for the recipe, I can't remember what it is, but there was a great beer dip recipe that we're having people over for a game, the big game, and we want to make this beer dip. I can search by beer dip, and then it will go into the actual picture of the recipe and pull up that note to me. So it brings it to me as a result, and then highlights the word beer dip right within that graphic. So it's smart enough to look inside of a picture to bring back the keywords or key phrases I'm looking for.
Yeah, that's cool.
So having it retrievable, and this is something that happens real quick. I mean, I said before in 10 seconds or less, I'm not lying. You can pretty much find anything you want within your environment, your ecosystem of information within Evernote just by doing a quick search. Now, you also talked about tags, and tags are really cool. Now, tags are specific keywords and key phrases that you think about your content with. So we'll call our information content.
Sure.
So I can make, let's go back to the analogies of recipes. I could tag a recipe with, let's say, appetizer, let's say meat, we'll say spread. So maybe we wanted to make this cool spread that has, we'll say, beef in it. For a lack of better meat, I suppose I could have picked something better. But I could tag this. So instead of trying to find all the different spreads we're making that have meat in it, I want to narrow it down to specific, let's say, specific results. So I can use tags, which are keywords or key phrases, and attach it to the note that allows me now to search by those tags and bring my results back to me 1, 2, 3. And that's really cool. And tags not only help you for that purpose, but let's say you have content in different notebooks, again, which are like folders, throughout your Evernote account. And they're really organized by these notebooks, but yet some of the content in these notes do relate to one another. And to find those, I would have to go and try to open up a notebook and find this note, and then go open up another notebook to find another note. Well, if I can tag with specific keywords and key phrases, when I do a search on tags, it actually brings those notes back to me, takes it out of those notebooks, and brings it right in front of me as results instead of having to hunt and peck throughout the notebooks to try to find that. So tags are very important and very powerful within Evernote to allow you to organize and retrieve your content in a manner that will be, efficient. It'll be time sensitive, and also it'll be organizational purposes as well. So, tags are great. Yeah. So that's where Evernote excels as far as retrieving your content.
Cool. Well, one more thing that I want to talk about before we wrap it up is that even though you are a one-man band, as in you're running your business, you're organizing your life, you're doing everything, and obviously helping others, you have an assistant that keeps you on track, right?
Yes, I do have an assistant. Yes, and I'm glad you brought that up, Jake. I'm in the Apple environment, so I have a digital assistant on my devices called Siri. Now, here's the situation. Jake, you just said that I am a one-man show, so I'm a solopreneur. And for me to be at my most productive and most effective in my business, I need help. So yes, I could have a virtual assistant and hire someone to do that. Um, and I could have someone full-time work for me. But the way I work and the way my business is structured, that's not working at this point. It doesn't fit where I'm at right now. So I use my personal assistant Siri on my device to help me manage my business and really manage my life. Because really, when you look at it, your life and business are really one of the same things. They overlap.
Right.
So, for instance, the way I use Siri, and I teach professionals to do this, and it's amazing. This is I do a lot of workshops and a lot of classes, and this is probably one of the most popular classes and workshops that I teach just because people know in the Apple environment they have Siri as an assistant, and they know that Siri can do a couple things for them, but they truly don't know how to use it to their advantage as a full-time, full-blown personal assistant. So I use Siri to actually schedule things on my calendar, where if I'm driving and let's say I'm driving, I can use Siri. I'll give you a scenario. Let's say I'm in a workshop all day and I get out. I want to keep in touch with what's going on with my business. So I leave the workshop and I simply ask Siri. I got to be careful because Siri assistant is right next to me. So hopefully she's not going to chime in. But I'll ask Siri, hey Siri, what are my latest notifications? Now, a notification is an alert or a message from one of the apps that are on my device. For instance, like my calendar or my email, my text messaging app, or, yep, Siri's going in the background.
Nice.
I don't know if you heard that. But what'll happen is Siri will actually go ahead and read to me all the different communications that have happened when I was in that workshop. So once I realize what's going on with that, Jake, if there's something critical I need to take care of, let's say a client says, hey, Dave, I need to reschedule our appointment tomorrow from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. And I can ask Siri, do I have space or room available time on my calendar at 11 o'clock? And if Siri will check my calendar and come back and say, Dave, yes, you do have space. And then I will instruct Siri to go ahead and move or change my 9 a.m. appointment tomorrow to 11 o'clock, 11 a.m. on my calendar. Now, I'm doing this as I drive. I'm not looking at my device. This is all hands-free. This is all verbal, just as I was talking to someone in the car. So I can concentrate on the road. I can be safe. I can respect other drivers and their safety. So my assistant allows me to take that time in my commute and actually be productive during that. That's just a sample of what I do, but I also have Siri remind me to do things. And Siri, I talked about that reminders app, Jake, before, but I can have Siri interact with that app to set a reminder for me. Let's say I'm driving between different destinations, and all of a sudden I think of something, I forgot that I have to call the lawn service. I got to take care of all the different things, maintenance with the lawn, and I haven't done that. I'm getting dandelions or whatever. If I think of that, I can have Siri remind me at a specific time where I know that I'll be available and that I can call. So I might say, Siri, remind me to call the lawn care company at 3 p.m. this afternoon. That way I get it out of my head, gave it to my assistant scheduled it as a reminder, and then my digital assistant reminder app then reminds me at that time. I don't have to worry about it. It's in a trusted system, and I become more efficient and more productive. Yeah. So that's just two quick samples of how I use my digital assistant, but yet those two are great scenarios, and you can see the value of how that helps you out. So learning how to use your tools and the technology you have is so important to assist you from going, let's go back to that island of frustration and the island of overwhelm. That helps you build that bridge to get over to that island of productive bliss. So understanding your tools and how to apply them in the most productive manner is so important.
Yeah, for sure, Dave. It's impressive that you're just using things that were integrated in the phone. I mean, you're not doing anything that is absolutely, sideways or anything. I mean, all of
Yeah.
us each year we see the new benefits of the iPhone or Samsung phones or whatever, and we go, "Oh, that's cool. Oh, that's cool. Oh, that's cool." But
Yeah.
the question is, are we really using it to our benefit? And
Yeah.
you're putting it into practice. You're using it in a way that kind of inspires all of us to be like, you know what? I should start using that more. You know what? I should get in the habit of trying that a little bit more. But like anything, it is a habit. I mean, you need to be
It is.
conscious of wanting to do it. But I know that the members that are listening to this, obviously, we're here for change. We're here to better ourselves. So I would say to give yourself a 2-week challenge of trying to implement this stuff into your life. So, Dave, all really good stuff. Is there anything that I just didn't hit upon during our conversation here?
I just want to end up what you said at the end. Since we're all here truly to make change, and we know we need change to evolve in our life, to expand, to grow in our life, change is so important. And to be able to adapt to that change is critical. And to be able to make change means that we have to change the way we do things, the way we think, and the way we act. And using these technology tools to support us during that change is so great. And you hit it right there when you said habits. We need to develop new habits to allow us to get to that growth, to get to that change, to make an impact, to serve at a different level. And yes, you have to commit. You have to have the willpower and the commitment to develop those new habits. Now, just quickly, how do I know these habits are good for me? Just take a look at the results you're getting. Your habits will tell you what results you're getting. So if you want to make change and you want different results, make sure you're tracking the results you're getting, and you can use technology to track your results as well. So yeah, commit to those habits, commit to that change, be mindful of what purpose you're trying to achieve, and use technology to assist you in all those different areas to do that. And to tell you what, Jake, when I made the big shift in my business, it really not only shifted when I became more productive, shifted my business, but it truly shifted my life. It redirected me. It made me more mindful. It helped me remember my purpose, my goals, and it allowed me to grow. I've grown so much since that shift, and I couldn't have done it without the use of technology and applying technology in a manner that supports me.
Cool. Yeah, Dave, all good stuff. I greatly appreciate you coming on the show and obviously talking about how to leverage technology to our greater good. How can people find out more about you and check out all the great things you're doing?
Yeah, great. Well, I'm on social media all over the place. Again, my name is Dave Rebro, Rebro. Look me up on Facebook. My handle on Twitter is at iPadExpertDave. I do a lot of work in the Apple environment, so that's my handle over there. But more importantly, you can find me at my website. My website is D as in Dave, R, C as in cat, S as in Sam, hyphen, solutions.com. So that's DRCS hyphen solutions.com. And I want to point out one more thing. Since we're kind of talking about being productive, building habits, productive habits, being focused, I put together a little training that is based on my chapter in the book you spoke about earlier, Jake, which is Brilliant Breakthroughs for the Small Business Owners. You don't have to be a small business owner to enjoy this training. This training is free. And the things that I talk about in that chapter and the things that I talked about today, I give you a video-based training to show you exactly the tools I use and the strategies I use to go ahead and become more focused, become more productive, gather more clarity, create more clarity so I can serve in my life on a greater level. Now, that webpage is brilliant.drcs-solutions.com. So brilliant.drcs-solutions.com. It's a free training. Go check it out. I've got a place to interact. Feel free to interact with me there. Write messages, ask me questions. I'd be happy to interact with you and help you in any way I can.
Cool. And the last question I have for you, it's something that I don't think you're really expecting, but what does a self-reset mean to you?
Yeah, that's a great question. Um, you know, self reset for me is, and I did this when I went through my overwhelm period when I shifted between my business services. It was a huge self reset because I went from really being stuck, being overwhelmed, being a place personally in my personal life where I didn't want to be. I had to step back and take a look, really step out of the bubble I was and look at what I was doing in my life. And if I was not happy, which I wasn't, if you're not happy, you have to make a decision that I'm going to change this. I'm going to make a commitment in my life to make a change. And that started, Jake, really in my mind. I had to work in my mind to change the way I thought, change the way that I perceived things, and to change the way that I conducted myself as a person. And once I start doing that, I started to gain clarity and really be mindful of my true purpose in life. So self reset means it's grounding back to, all right, what's truly important in my life. Now, once you get clarity on that, then everything starts to take place. So self reset means come back to who you truly are, what your purpose is, and how you want to serve in your life, because that's where the joy is, that's where the happiness is, and that's where you can really be at your best and really give at your best. So to me, that's what self reset is.
Awesome, Dave. Well said, man. I appreciate your ideas. I appreciate you doing something that you fell in love with, and of course, giving us great tools and resources and ideas to kind of get ourselves on the right track towards our own personal reset. So, Dave, man, I appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on the Operation Self Reset podcast.
Hey, Jake, as always, I appreciate our conversations on mic and off mic. We have some deep conversations that we talk about sometimes and get into some really cool topics. So, anytime we want to bring up some topics to share with your audience, I'd love to do it.
All right. Awesome, Dave. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Jake.
Thanks again to Dave for coming on the show. Obviously, his ideas, his resources, and tips are absolutely awesome. I mean, they're really good. One big aha for me was using Siri. I have an Apple device. I have many Apple devices. I don't use Siri like the way I should. I know I could use it for reminders. I know I could use it for on-the-go scheduling, but I don't. And why is that? Because I'm stuck in my old ways. And the only way to get unstuck, to become better, to do things differently, is to say, you know what? Instead of listening to the countless episodes and countless ideas and resources and tools and apps and all those things that everybody says I should be doing, I'm actually going to implement them. I'm actually going to do it, as opposed to just listen and go, yeah, that's a good idea, and then not take action. If you want to see the change, if you want to see the results, you have to put the action into progress. Is there going to be a learning curve? Is it going to have an ugly duckling syndrome in the beginning? As in, it's not maybe going to work. Scheduling through Siri is going to get messed up. It's not going to read your or write your pronunciations correctly. It's going to schedule things wrong. We get that. But the only way to get good at it, the only way to use it like second hand or second nature, is to countlessly use it time and time again. So I challenge you in this episode in particular to use technology to your benefit. Sure, can you still surf the web and social media? Of course. But are you going to implement more organization in your calendar? Are you going to set blocks and time zones for the biggest crucial things in your life? For sleep, for meditation, for journaling, for reading, what have you. If you start to do that, your days will start to get clearer. And when you have clear days, you're able to move farther ahead. It's as if you're traveling in a boat, right? If the seas are choppy, the fog is in your face, you got wind and rain coming at you, you're not really going to be making much progress. Will you continue and move forward? Of course. But think of how awesome it would be if you had perfect conditions. The sunshine is out. The waves have died down. There's nothing in your face besides fresh, beautiful warm air, you're going to push that boat to the max. The same with you. If you are having clarity, if you have a clear sense in front of you, you're going to do great things on the backside. So take that for a grain of heart. If this really struck home with you, please listen to it again. The second thing is make sure you take action, so you put the things that we talk about into play here. So the only way to reset, the only way to get better is to listen to these tactics and tools and ideas and to actually put them into play. So that is another part of our mini series here on a self reset. I thought it was appropriate using the right tools and technology to assist us in becoming better individuals. So hopefully this rang true for you too. If you have any questions or comments, please send me an email, jake@operationselfreset.com. And if there's anything I can do for you guys in the meantime, send me an email, jake@operationselfreset.com. And if you love the show, the one thing that you could do for me, I don't want your money. I don't want your time. I don't want to do anything crazy. All I'm asking is a review on iTunes would be greatly, greatly appreciated. The more reviews, the more exposure, the more people this show and myself can reach. So with that being said, I appreciate you guys full-heartedly. I thank you for your time. Can't wait to talk to you guys next week, Wednesday, for another great episode of Operation Self Reset. We'll see ya.